All right. So we just shot that video on HPV. We may not post it, so we're gonna reshoot it, and I'm making Kathy do this. All right. We had a question about HPV, sexually transmitted disease, human papilloma virus, something like that, right? So I don't even know how to spell that, but it would be a great Scrabble word.
And this is Read My Health Book, readaboutsex.com.
Kathy Vartuli from the intimacydojo.com. Okay, so I think people should get vaccinated for HPV, the Gardasil vaccination. And then Kathy just revealed to me moments ago that you had done some research. Kathy is a research scientist. She has 19 patents.
I'm not a medical doctor. I was reading.
I'm not a medical doctor, nor do I play one on the internet. So what has your research discovered for you?
I'm not saying anyone should not get vaccinated. I think people should do their own research and decide for themselves. But there's a group of people that are very concerned about the vaccine because there's quite a bit of anecdotal evidence. There's not been like a huge study. It's hard to split test humans is the problem. But there's people that are losing motor function because they believe because of the vaccine. So it's something I'm concerned about. And the amount of reduced risk is not sufficient for me to feel comfortable risking what is a relatively new vaccine that's been a very large population has been exposed to. And I like to see a little more research done before people start. This was originally just approved for women. Now it's given to men too. There's not studies been done on a lot of this. So I'm concerned.
Okay. So here's I'm not refuting what Kathy's saying. Everyone gets to have their own opinion. I have not done that research, which Kathy has done. And from the people that I've geeked out on about HPV, I think you should get vaccinated, but that's a choice you have to make.
Absolutely.
And I'm willing to get into a conversation, like a brouhaha about vaccination in general. And I have friends who are like, "Don't vaccinate your kids."
I'm not one of those people, so.
So I wanted you to make. I think it's important that they know that.
Yeah.
So I am pro-vaccination, and around HPV, here's my non-medical perspective. You cannot avoid being exposed to HPV if you are going to have sex with more than one person, or have sex with people who have sex with more than one person.
Right.
The odds are, when you do the math, you will get exposed, and exposure does not mean that you catch it, but you will get exposed to HPV. Inside of that conversation, there are some strands of HPV that have been known to cause cancer. If you expose to those strains, it doesn't mean you automatically get cancer. And as we're learning more about HPV and that the body can clear itself, most of the time, if you have a strong immune system, you're taking care of it. So then for people who have immunity compromised challenges, they're in a different ballpark with that. But if you try to take care of your body as best you can and do what you can to have a good immune system, what studies seem to be showing is that most people will clear HPV on their own
within a couple of years.
In a couple of years. So that means, and this is where some of the advice from the CDC and certain other medical organizations were, that if you get a pap smear twice a year, if your pap smear is irregular or abnormal, and then people start freaking out because they're like, well, we want to make sure you don't get cancer, so we remove your cervix, which is way too fast to do stuff.
So you should be careful when you talk about irregular pap smears. It can mean that you're detecting HPV. It could also mean they're detecting cancer cells, which is a different thing. There should be a distinction. Yeah.
So, and I talk to a lot of people who go and get their pap smears and talk to their doctors, and their doctors don't know as much as they could. I almost said jack shit. about cervical cancer and abnormal pap smears and things like that. So here's the deal. And because we don't have a way of testing penis owners if they have HPV or not, the penises that you're sleeping with won't know if they have HPV or not. So here's the deal: like, do the research that you can and the emotional work to figure out how you're going to handle one if you get an irregular pap smear, how you're going to have some agency and advocacy around, like, so what does that mean, doctor? And also who you're going to go to get a second opinion from, so that you are not emotionally freaking out, which will compromise your ability to navigate the situation at all. Yeah. And understanding that, well, whatever I have, if I'm not in the cancerous cell stage, which then you're going down another route of how you get that treated, how am I going to chill out for 2 years while still being sexually active and make that work? Is this working for you? Okay. Do you want to add anything to it?
No, I think I recommend people share and disclose if they know they have HPV or if they've been vaccinated or not. I think that's a good idea. I think for different demographics, there's different reasons to get vaccinated or not. And I think each person should do some research. You're putting something in your body. Do a bit of research on your own and make sure you understand the facts as we know them right now and make your best decision. There's
no such thing as safe sex. There's safer sex. Use condoms for penetration. That if you're sleeping with lots of people, because then I'm not if I have HPV on my cock and on the head of my cock, I'm not saying, hello, cervix of this other person, have some HPV. Wearing a condom will minimize exposure in certain ways, keep exposure to the outside of the genitals, which is about the best you can do unless you're going to have people encased in amber or a biohazmat suit or something like that.
Naked Gun, was it 2.5?
Naked Gun, yeah, they had the full-on things. So now that we have referenced Naked Gun 2.5, and we've started the conversation about how you can handle approaching HPV, because we had a question, somebody wanted to hear more about that. Again, this is the beginning of figuring out and the resources and ways for you to feel safer and how to navigate being an adult around having sex. If you can't handle this conversation at all, and you can't talk to another human being or talk to your doctor about this yet, and you're not sexually active, this is for our viewers who are not sexually active, this is a good way to measure if it's time for you to be sexually active or not. Having the emotional acuity to have talks and conversations about this, that you've even listened this much into the video, is awesome. Yeah. These are the baby steps to being an adult around this stuff. And then sleep with people who can handle the conversation
that
too.
Can adult around it.
Yes. Let's start adulting around the safer sex conversations, shall we?
Thanks for being part of this, and leave feedback below.
Yeah, that was a much better video than the last one, which you may never see, or maybe you will.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to subscribe to my social media, it's right there. And please subscribe to this channel there. If you'd like to see more goofy Reed and Kathy, there's more videos there.
I didn't see that. Why are they there?